Okay, today we are talking to our sandwich generation. Sandwich generation, what is that? That is, you have children of your own, either still in school and college that you're caring for, and now all of a sudden you are also caring for your aging parents or grandparents or something like that. And we have about stats say that about 90% of the sandwich generation, because of caregiving, this is impacting their financial decisions. So if you are a member of the sandwich generation, where you have kids who are still in school, be that high school or college, and now you are caring for your aging parent, this is directed to you, or you're a caregiver, you're caregiving for an adult person. So, unfortunately, a lot of times families are not having the conversation about what happens when I die. What happens when I get older? And I know in certain communities it's like, we don't want to talk about death. Do you want me dying? No, what we want to talk about is a plan. What are we going to do if worst case scenario happens? We all think we're going to live forever, or even in our older lives, we're still going to be vibrant and we're going to take care of ourselves. But that is not the case. I mean, the pandemic taught us we had people young and old dying from that. So there needs to be a plan. You need an emergency plan just in case things go left, just in case I can't care for myself. What if I have a hip surgery and I can't be in my house because I need to recover in a rehab? Who's making those financial and healthcare decisions for me? I've already done a video series on power of attorney for healthcare. So please go to Rondaisms.com and look at that one for a power of attorney. Also, everything that I'm talking about in this series, there's an article on Rondaisms.com about sandwich generation. So like I said, there's already a video about power of attorney for healthcare. Check that out. And then the stuff that I'm talking about for the sandwich generation, it's in the article. So if you have not already had the conversation with your adult parent or the adult family member that you're caring for, before they have any issues that impact their mental capacity, like Alzheimer's or dementia, you're going to have a tough road ahead. Because one, if you have not already had a discussion, if they have not already appointed you their power of attorney for health care, you're going to have to go through a legal process to get that. So this is why these discussions need to be had before their health declines. What do you want? What are the expectations? Because the assumption that you can just be their full-time caregiver, most people, everybody in the household is working. So if you're working, how are you caring for that adult, your adult parent? And have they set aside money for long-term care? Do they have long-term care insurance? Do they have a pension, or what healthcare system do they have? Because you're going to have to assist with that. If they need regular doctor's appointments, is your job schedule flexible enough for you to take that time off? Taxes. Do they qualify as an adult dependent for you? If not, and you're managing their finances and stuff, because they're living in assisted living or nursing home care, are they taking their required IRA distributions? If not, there's tax penalties. So you need to be talking to an accountant and a financial advisor about what that looks like and how that's going to impact you, particularly if they have none of these things in place and you are carrying the brunt of the entire financial burden of all of that. So I mentioned a few things. Long-term care insurance. There is an article that's on Rondaisms.com that goes into the nuances of long-term care insurance, traditional versus non-traditional. When we talk about being in the sandwich generation, this means you have to have, like I said, you have to have difficult conversations before the worst case scenario happens. Unfortunately, I've had people reach out to me and, their parents were fine, they were independent, and then dementia, early onset Alzheimer's. And guess what? The paperwork was not there, or nobody knew where the paperwork was. The last thing you need are these hurdles where you're gonna, like, if you don't currently have power of attorney for their finances, or let's not even talk about the finances, for their health care. Who's making these healthcare decisions for them when things need to happen? The doctors, like, they need healthcare, all this other stuff. And the POA for healthcare, POA, power of attorney, hasn't been in place. So that's like, and you want to have these topics with your parents, and if their response is, what, you want me dead? You want my money? It's like, no, I just want what's best for you. Tell me what you want so I can make sure that want you to live a long, healthy, independent life. If, God forbid, something happens and you can't be independent, let's have a plan of how you want that to look. So if that happens, we're not struggling. We are like, okay, plans in place. We just shift into gear. So, like, do they have a will? What type of estate planning has they done? Do they have a DNR? Do not resuscitate. Do they have life insurance? These are critical conversations that need to happen with your adult parent or whatever adult you're caregiving for, and you. And these conversations need to happen when they're lucid and when they are able to be independent, so you can have these conversations. So I'll just go into my own attempts to have conversations with family members. And like I said, I'm a lawyer. And by the way, this is not legal or financial advice. This is, here are my experiences. These are topics that you need to take to your financial advisor or planner, to your estate's attorney, so you can avoid problems that typically come up when it hasn't been addressed. So I'm a lawyer, talking to mom and dad, after law school. You guys got a will? Don't want to talk about death. Don't want to talk about death. Nobody's talking. I was like, you need a will. You need a will. And not talking about that is horrible, because what if there is an accident that makes you, like, you don't die, but you're now permanently disabled? You have to have the discussion. So, like, even if, there's no Alzheimer's or something like that, an injury, like a temporary surgery that means that you can't stay in your house, who's going to manage everything while that happens? So, unfortunately, in my situation, my dad died at a very young age. He went in for, we thought he had flu or something like that. And 3 weeks later, he's gone. And after he died, I was like, they had insurance. Yeah. But they had a financial bump in the road and decided to save money to get rid of their insurance policy. They had been paying on an insurance plan, and then that the year before he died, they decided to not do insurance. So we had to pay out of pocket for the burial expenses and the insurance that would have paid off the house. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so, it's the conversation of, can mom afford to stay in a house when there were two people before that were helping to pay off the mortgage, and she wasn't the biggest breadwinner? So after dad dies, mom, we need to have a talk. We need to talk about, you need a will. We need to talk about this. She didn't want to talk. I said, listen, we are not going to have a redo of the dad situation. We need to have a plan. Now, the fortunate thing for us was my dad had always said, do not make the undertaker rich when I die. So he was clear. He wanted to be cremated. Don't spend money post-death. Don't waste that money. My mother, she didn't want to be cremated. And so years of talking to her, mom, you need a will. She's like, I trust you guys are going to do the right thing. What do you want? Tell us what you want. Put that in the will, and we will follow your instructions. Years are going on. Mom, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. So I knew she did not want to be cremated. I knew that was like, she was like, don't cremate me. So I said, Mom, I said, if you do not create a will, that means we can do whatever we want. And I said, that means I'm going to burn you. Don't burn my body. I said, then if you don't want me to burn your body, tell me what to do. Let's put together a will. So it took years, and finally, we put together a will. All siblings were there. We had it notarized. We did all this other stuff. And, it's like, she did not want to do a DNR. Do everything to save my life. Okay, fine. Put that in there. Okay, what do you want to happen to the house? We went through all scenarios. If we knew, we did a power of attorney for healthcare. Okay, this is the point person that makes all decisions for you. And if this person can't do it, who's the backup person? Tell me everything you want. Okay, where do you have life insurance? Okay, what's the policy? What bank accounts do we need to be aware of? We had a go bag for her because later in life she was sick a lot. So whoever had to take her to the hospital if there was emergency, get the go bag. The go bag had her power of attorney for healthcare, which we made sure all of her doctors had, so they knew who to contact to make those decisions. It had everything in it. So we knew if an emergency happened, if we had to run to the ER or to the doctor with Mom, you got your go bag, we were set. Because we had already been through that with Dad. And that, when you're going through a loss, the last thing you need is to find out financially and everything else, things are not set. The grief alone is hard enough to deal with. So tell your parents my story and be like, hey, I know you don't want us to go through that. So sit your parents down. This is not about we want you dead. It's like, no, I want to honor your wishes. And I don't want you to be ill or to die. But if you slip and fall and you're injured in the house and you're just temporarily disabled or something like that, and we do need to come and sweep in, if God forbid there's Alzheimer's or dementia, let me know how you want this to play out. So have these conversations. I'm going down a list. Women, unfortunately, and you guys probably already know this, even if you're married and you're co-parenting, it is still presumed that the woman will be the primary caregiver for the children and for any adult caregiving responsibilities. So this means that you have an extra burden on you. So you really want to have conversations with your partner or your spouse and whoever the adult parent is, be it your parent or his parent, about this. Can you, this assumption that, they'll just move in and stay with us? Really? Do they need care? Are both of you guys working? How is that going to work? I mean, I had a friend, they were like, she had tons of siblings, and they were like, we'll just, we'll rotate, the care for mom or dad. And they were like, it's not a big deal. The parent had Alzheimer's, dementia, it's, related to a terminal illness. But during the daytime, when the other siblings would come up, parents fine. It was at nighttime that dementia and Alzheimer's would kick in, and the terror, they would become belligerent. The person that never cursed a day in their life was cursing out people, but the other siblings didn't see that because mom's not spending the night with them. Have these conversations with your parents of what is it going to look like. Are we going to have, if you're disabled, you're rotating throughout the year with the different siblings? Because it's a huge, not that your family's a burden, but the caregiving is a responsibility. It is you're raising your own children. You already know how that looks like when you are raising them. You're like, okay, toddlers, all right, they're becoming more independent, and then in college, and you're getting ready to push them into the world. Now, when you're dealing with your adult parent, they're kind of aging in reverse because they've been independent, but now they don't have, particularly if there's Alzheimer's and dementia coming in, they are kind of reverting back to a childlike state. And you can tell your child what to do, but try telling your mom or dad what to do. For my mom, it was always the fight. Mom, we need to go see the doctors. I think I'm all right. Now, if I prick my finger or got a hangnail, you need to go see your doctor. But with her having a major health crisis, I don't want to go to the doctors. Mom, you need to go to the doctors. I'm like, particularly, like I said, if you're the only child, you need to build up a team. If there are siblings, your adult parent and your siblings need to have a conversation of how this burden is going to look for everybody. And again, conversations about long-term care insurance. If your adult parent doesn't already have long-term care insurance, heads up, typically Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare doesn't typically cover that except under certain situations. And when it comes to Medicaid, you have to meet certain financial parameters to qualify under long-term care. FYI, the average price of being in a nursing home or assisted living is around about $6,000 a month. So head over to Rondaisms for the long-term care article. I have more detailed information about what that looks like, and if your parent is Medicare or Medicaid eligible, questions you need to be asking, conversations that need to be had. So again, back to my sandwich generation people. If you have an adult care, if you have your parents living with you, you've taken in an adult, your great aunt or your great uncle, you need to be having a real heart-to-heart conversation with them. And if, they're like, what, you're trying to take over my money? Look, you don't have to be their power of attorney for healthcare, but they need to pick somebody that will be able to make those decisions for them. You don't have to be their power of attorney for finances, but they need to have already picked that person. So when it's time for things to happen, there is no confusion about who's doing what. The other thing I want to mention to you guys, and I think I said at the top of this video, taxes. It's tax season. If you have taken over full financial responsibility, do they qualify as an adult dependent? When it comes to childcare, the childcare tax credit, are you sending them to an adult daycare? Does that qualify? This is a conversation you need to have with your accountant or your tax preparer. And these are conversations that need to be fluid with your parents before an illness or disability or, God forbid, something terminal happens. These are things you want to know. Sit down and tell them, look, I want you to live long and prosper, be healthy, be independent. I want you to be healthy. But in case something goes left, it's like when you get on an airplane. We don't expect any problems. We should have smooth sailing. In case of a sea landing, in case of this, here's what's going to happen. There should be no question of, oh my God, there's been a car accident, or something happened to mom, something happened to dad, and everybody's running around not knowing you don't know where the papers are. You don't know who the lawyer is. You don't know who handled what. In sandwich generation, these same questions that you should be asking your adult parents, you yourself should have a plan set up for you. I'm going to have a separate series coming out called Wills, Estates, and Trust, where I'm going to break this. We're going to step by step this. But for those who are adult caring for adult parents or relatives, these are just things that you need to be considering, that you need to be bringing to the adult that you're caring for. You need to be having conversations with your financial planner, particularly if this is going to financially impact you. If you have to take on the financial burden of this person's caregiving, you need to be talking to your financial advisor. You need to be talking to your estate's attorney, because this is going to impact how you're saving for your own retirement and for your own long-term care. All right. Again, there are resources on rondaisms.com, the website. There's already a video up about power of attorney for healthcare. So check that out. And like I said, there's always resources. Hopefully, this is enough to help you guys get the conversation started. Again, everybody's situation is going to be different, which is why I encourage and recommend you talk to a financial planner or an advisor if you don't have one. Your bank or credit union typically has free financial planning or counseling services. Do you have a 401k? Do you have a pension? The person who probably holds that account, that company probably also has free financial planning counseling services. Avail yourself of free resources, okay? So you can, like, that's your first tool. That's just the first step. So if you can pay, but also you need to make sure that you're dealing with somebody that understands your unique circumstances. It's not a one size fit all. It's just like your own personal trainer. What works for somebody may not work for you, and you need that person that understands your situation. Are you first generation? Do they understand the nuances of, you're taking care of all these other people? Make sure you find someone that helps cater something to your situation and plan. But that's just the first step. If you don't already have a financial planner or advisor, run to your bank, run to your credit union, set up a financial planning session. Whoever is managing your 401k or your pension, I'm sure they also have the same services. So get the conversation started with your family members, and not just your adult family members, but make sure that you yourself have a plan in place. And if you're married, make sure that your spouse or partner has a plan in place. You don't want, when accidents and worst case scenarios happen, just dealing with that incident and the grief alone is enough. The burden of nothing was prepared or we don't know where anything is, don't tack that on to what's already a very traumatic situation. Hopefully this helps.